Honorable Minister, Major General Depp, Mr. Rimmel, dear participants, colleagues, friends, it's an intense privilege and pleasure to welcome you here for this second Changing Asia conference on behalf of the GIGA German Institute of Global and Area Studies. Before I say maybe a few words about sort of the origins of this conference, let me briefly address what the Minister just said on Asia, which indeed is probably sort of the quintessential phantom region, if you will. I mean, there are most definitely no sort of biological, political, social, economic, cultural, or even geographic reasons which sort of clearly and consistently demarcate and distinguish world regions, let alone continents, across the globe. As we all know, and I guess most of us are constructivists by now, world regions and continents are social constructants. These are sort of, malleable sort of categories. But whatever sort of, our constructivists have said about deconstructing, and I wonder why they are called constructivists when all they do most of the time is sort of deconstruct. Anyhow, said about sort of Asia. I mean, this is a convenient shorthand that will stay with us for some time to come, right? However, it is demarcated. And at the GIGA, we are quite sure, sort of, how to demarcate Asia. For the Institute of Asian Studies, it starts with Mongolia and it ends with New Zealand. But that is just one possible demarcation. All right. So this all started, I guess, and I think I was sort of present at the creation some time ago in 2009, 2010. When the GIGA was interested in reaching out and finding new institutional cooperation partners across the globe. At that time, we were setting up a new graduate school at the Institute called the Hamburg Graduate School for the Study of Regional Powers, or HIGS for short. And we had a sort of a high interest in finding partners in the respective countries with whom we can do research, with whom we can do conduct conferences and workshops like this, with whom we could exchange scholars and doctoral students. Now, we signed cooperation agreements with IDSA here in India, with China Foreign Affairs University in Beijing, with the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. And over time, we indeed exchanged scholars. We did conferences and workshops. And actually, it gives me great pleasure to see quite a few people here who either spent some time going out from the GIGA to these various institutions or actually coming to us, spending some time with us in Hamburg. Originally, this was very much sort of bilaterally conceived. So we started, and the Major General alluded to that, we started with some bilateral conferences in 2013, on the one hand with China Foreign Affairs University, on the other hand with IDSA. Unfortunately, I myself couldn't be there. I was at the University of Otago at that point. But I was told that by my colleagues that, these were indeed very constructive, productive conferences. And so we were thinking, sort of, couldn't we not sort of combine them in some way? So we approached our friends at the China Foreign Affairs University, at the IDSA, and asked them how they felt about sort of some kind of sort of quadrilateral setting in a way, which would give us a chance to maybe go in some ways beyond the kind of discussions and conversations we would be having at the bilateral level. And we were extremely pleased to see that there was actually a vast interest on the part of the IDSA and the China Foreign Affairs University, and also on the part of our friends in the US, then to join forces and to do this in a sort of multilateral setting, if you will. And this all led then basically to this first inaugural conference on Changing Asia in Hamburg 2 years ago. And the idea was always to combine an academic conference which would look in sort of conceptual, empirical terms, but also with a view to sort of, policy relevant issues at the changes, the major changes going on in this phantom region, And I think we all will agree that sort of the rise of China, the rise of India, is one of the sort of most momentous changes that has affected the region, however demarcated, over the past years, if not decades. So what does this mean for regional governments? What does it mean for global governments? These are the kind of sort of core questions which are very much at the center of this conference series, I should say, or I hope I can say. We started with this first conference in Hamburg, and the idea was also there to have sort of attached to the conference, if you will, a policy round table. So not just talk among the academics, but to reach out to a broader interested public, to policymakers. The Konrad Adenauer Foundation was kind enough to support us in this way and sort of to offer us the conference center of the Adenauer Foundation, and we had a policy roundtable there in Berlin involving people from the policy planning staff of the Federal Foreign Ministry, policymakers, and so on. It was a very productive experience. Something that I'm also glad to record, a sentiment that was shared sort of by our colleagues at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. And together we decided to sort of institutionalize this conference, to give it more sort of stability, regularity, maybe internal complexity. And hopefully this will also become something that will become sort of infused with value, really. So that is sort of appreciated, for in intrinsical terms, because it adds value to the kinds of discussions that we do have. I'm immensely grateful for our colleagues from the United States, from China, of course also from India. That they sort of, I was about to say that they didn't have to travel that far, but noting that the traffic here and everything, sort of, I realized that they were also traveling quite far in some instances. And of course from New Zealand, that they have made their way here to the conference. I'm very much looking forward to a very productive and insightful conference, and wish us all the best for the next coming days. Thank you.